First topic of the show, have to talk about Russell Wilson being benched. Topic list also says they want to talk about Sam Howell, but we know what the main storyline of today is going to be. Now, of course, I'll go first because I have a laundry list of thoughts, and I'm going to try to keep them as organized as possible. It was reported by Jordan Schultz that the Denver Broncos will be sitting Russell Wilson for the last 2 games of the season, and that this became a real conversation after the win against Kansas City, where he threw for 3 touchdowns. We broke the crazy long streak of being winless against the Kansas City Chiefs because they wanted him to waive his injury clause that he had in his contract that I believe would save them around $35 million or something along those lines. You do that after we get one of the biggest wins that we've had in years. And you could say that that sounds sorry coming from a Broncos fan. That sounds sorry for the fact of, we reached the mountaintop in 2016. But that's just the reality. We have not been a good team since Peyton Manning retired. And we finally get a huge win against the league, the face of the league in the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. We make Patrick Mahomes look normal. And then on top of it, Russ goes ahead and executes a solid game plan, puts up 3 touchdowns, pretty efficient game. And then it comes out that you want him to take this pay cut or else you're going to make him inactive rest of the season. It's an embarrassment to Russ. And I feel like that's just been his entire time as a Denver Bronco. Last year, he embarrassed himself with the way that he played. On top of it, we were just insanely riddled with injuries, and our head coach put together one of the worst head coaching jobs in the history of football. Now we go in this year. He's actually playing solid football. The stats look better than, of course, I would say his actual play. Top 6 in touchdowns, taking care of the ball, only has 8 interceptions, has really done a great job of that regard. But his issue has been holding on to the ball too long and trying to let plays develop for too long as opposed to just letting it go, seeing the check down, and just continuing to move the ball down the field. Now, Shawn Payton, it seemed clear that he did not or does not like a Russell Wilson. The game versus the Lions, there's so much more going on, bigger than just Russell Wilson, and he's going crazy at Russell Wilson on the sideline. In that scenario, you could say, all right, he just picked a moment where Russ kind of screwed up. But in the grand scheme of things, the offensive line wasn't playing that well. The defense was not playing well, and that's really what had been our bread and butter in the crazy win streak. But I feel as if we're trying to scapegoat Russ in this situation. On top of it, yes, the contract isn't ideal for the Denver Broncos in their upcoming situation going forward. I just think that this is a shitty day for Broncos country. We put a lot of investment into Russell Wilson, and to not even see it through for 2 full seasons after giving him $245 million, it's definitely pretty upsetting if you ask me. But I'm just trying to stay as optimistic as I can, even though that's seeming very, very hard right now. I'm not happy with the Denver Broncos. I hate how they handled this situation. Yes, I could ask for Russell Wilson to play better, sure, but I think that there are definitely bigger fish to fry than just Russell. The reason why we're looking at him so much as the blame is you're not living up to the $245 million contract. And whether that's fair or not, which, of course, I would say that that's fair, at the same time, you look, I think that their problems are bigger than just Russ, and he's not the main reason why we've lost these games. A benching coming the game after the New England Patriots, where he struggled for the first 3 quarters, but we don't come back in that 4th quarter without Russ. So for this to happen now, I'm glad that it came out saying that it's strictly financial, because I don't think that he's played as bad as some might try to say in the upcoming minutes. But at the same time, I think that for what he's being paid, it's definitely not ideal for the Broncos to hold on to his contract.
All right, let's get a couple things straight. Russell Wilson hasn't been terrible this year. He hasn't been great this year. He was benched because of 2 reasons. One of them was performance. Number 2 was finances. The second one doesn't happen if he lives up to number 1. If Shawn Payton is truly invested into Russ and thinks he's a great quarterback, Russ doesn't get benched. The Broncos are not trying to find a way out of his contract if they think he's great, because they don't mind paying him. Just think about this. If Sean Payton took the Chargers job, is he doing this to Justin Herbert? I don't think he is. It's because Justin Herbert's legitimately a great quarterback. Jordan Schultz reported some very interesting things. I want to make it known that there are other reporters that have reported that he was also benched for performance reasons. Sean Payton came out and said he wants a spark to the offense. The Broncos are 1-3. The
Yeah, that comment
offense has
sucked.
not lived up to its billing. Jordan Schultz, he's been on the show before. I respect him. I respect his reporting. The type of reporter that he is he's built a lot of great relationships with player agents. And the report that he came out with sounded very Russell Wilson pro camp, which that's his side of the story. I'm glad that Russ is able to share his side of the story, but there are a couple things that didn't line up. They threatened Russell Wilson after the Chiefs game to defer his $37 million guarantee clause. Yet 8 weeks after that game, he still was playing. They didn't bench him right away. So he still was playing, and that 37 million was still going to be guaranteed in the fifth day of the 2024 league year, which is the new league year coming up. Then he states in the report that Russell Wilson was coming off wins versus the Bills, the Vikings, the Browns, who have an elite defense. Have you looked at Russell Wilson's numbers versus the Browns? He completed less than 60% of his passes, threw for 139 yards. It was something around that. Russell, like, we're painting him out as like he was exceptional against these teams, which he was not. So this report to me sounded very pro-friendly. I'm glad that it came out. But ultimately, whether or not Russ was benched or not, they still owe him a ton of money. The new contract that he signed, the extension, doesn't kick in until 2024 because it runs through 2024 through 2029, I believe. There's an out in the middle of that contract. If they cut Russ or if they trade Russ, they're going to have $80 million in dead money. No franchise is willingly taking on that much dead money if they truly believe the quarterback they have is capable of leading them to a deep playoff run. Russell Wilson this year has a check down percentage in clean pockets of 19.6%. That's the highest in the NFL. That's worse than Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Aiden O'Connell, Derek Carr, who are quarterbacks that don't see the field particularly well. And Russ is 5 percentage points higher than all those guys. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions is great individually. But what is that leading to a team aspect of things? They're 25th in early down pass rate. They're 27th in drop back per EPA on those passes. The offense is 16th in scoring, 20th on third down, 31st in goal-to-goal situations, and 25th in passing yards per game. The numbers individually may look great, but he's not leading a great passing offense. He's not even leading an average passing offense. Mahomes, who they're comparing Russell Wilson to Mahomes stats all day long, as broken as the Chiefs offense is, they're top 10 in every passing metric with their offense because Mahomes is leading that offense. And that's where I think stats can lie sometimes. Ultimately, the Broncos were 6-5 entering week 13, and they've gone 1-3. Russell Wilson has 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in that little skid, 84 passer rating. He's taken 12 sacks and he's had 3 fumbles. 3 interceptions versus Houston, 17 points against the Lions, 7 points through 3 quarters versus New England. I mean, he just hasn't been a good quarterback this year. And I feel bad and I sympathize with Russell Wilson because he has been a great quarterback in this league. And to see where his career is going right now is saddening. But ultimately, ask yourself this. If Russell Wilson is truly a great quarterback, it will reveal itself in how many teams and how many coaches around the league that are truly going to want to go after him in the offseason. Because the Broncos have said their plan is to cut him. If they do, the market for Russ will tell us all we need to know about how Russ has been. How good has he actually been this year in 2024 or 2023, I should say.
And it's interesting because the Broncos have 2 options, right? The latest report is saying that he's going to get cut in March, which would mean a pre-June 1st release, which would mean $85 million in dead cap in 2024. The other option is a post-June 1st release, which would be $35 million in dead cap in 2024 and then 49 million dead cap in 2025. So the Broncos have the option to kind of just take all of this dead money in one season. 2025 is a bit of a reset. Just to quickly think of a couple of teams that could be interested. Atlanta's been looking for a quarterback. Tennessee's been looking for a quarterback. But I don't really know what Russ is going to command on the open market. It feels like whatever team he's going to go to, maybe even the Giants, will probably be a competition for that quarterback spot in training camp and OTAs, because I don't think any team's just going to hand him the quarterback position from what we've seen this year. As Drew mentioned, I think his stats have lied a bit this year. He's probably been a top 20-ish type quarterback. But we take into account all the injuries that's happened this season. That's not as good as it might sound. He did a good job of taking care of the ball, but then his last 4 weeks, as Joel mentioned, the interceptions, the fumbles starting to rack up. And then he's just not really being aggressive. I mean, it's been a lot of checkdowns. It's been a lot of him bailing from the pocket early, and whether it's rushing or just trying to escape the pocket and not being able to find anyone down the field, that's been another issue. But I think everyone's losing the mark a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of Shawn Payton. I made that well known. But it does worry me a bit that if Shawn Payton can't get this figured out with Russell Wilson, he's screaming at him on the sideline. He comes out after the Chiefs game, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, that's probably the biggest Broncos regular season win the last 5 years. You haven't beat them in God knows how long, division rival.
Definitely.
And you beat them, and the first thing you do is go to your quote-unquote franchise quarterback and say, we want you to change your contracts. It seems like Shawn Payton is trying to put this blame on Russell Wilson and saying it's all his fault, just like preseason has said it was all Nathaniel Hackett's fault. Now it's all Russell Wilson's fault. So now if the Broncos are going to go in direction of bringing in a young quarterback, and TBD what they end up doing, they like Jarrett Stidham, obviously paid him big money this offseason, big backup money that is. Regardless if they go young quarterback, veteran, if they do go young quarterback, I don't know how much faith I have in Shawn Payton to mold a relationship with a young quarterback, give him the confidence he needs, because we've seen all across the NFL, the best quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks are up and coming. They have a head coach that they could kind of go to when things are going left. Tua is the perfect example. Brian Flores and him, the relationship was not good. Mike McDaniel comes in, regardless of being one of the best offensive minds in the NFL, him and Tua's relationship, you see it all the time on Hard Knocks, on NFL films. They obviously have a very close relationship where Mike McDaniel is giving him the confidence and the courage to go out there and play his best. Tua's, of course, out there balling. Don't want to take anything away from him. But the confidence that the head coach is instilling in the quarterback means a ton. And the fact that Shawn Payton, who is a bit older, not as young as Mike McDaniel and Sean McVay's, has been, difficult. Even in New Orleans, he's very, forthcoming and doesn't really have as much maybe optimism. I don't know if that's the right word, but Russell Wilson's like, we'll get it figured out, guys. Like, you're my teammates. He doesn't have that same sort of just personality. So it is a bit worrisome for the Broncos if Shawn Payton isn't able to figure it out. Now, listen, he's still one of the best offensive coaches. He was able to turn the worst offense in football with very minor improvements on the offensive line into one of at least a respectable offense. It's not dead last this year, so I don't want to completely write him off. But I do think that's kind of the biggest concern for me, is that if Shawn Payton can't get out of his own way and, whatever coach is next up, whatever quarterback is next up, can he give that guy confidence? Because he wasn't able to do it with Russell Wilson.
The timing of this all was definitely shocking to me. The jig is really up for Russell Wilson, and I find that fucking hilarious that it happened. Like, it happened at this point. I don't think he was playing bad, like Drew meant. Like, I think it's kind of in the middle. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. He was kind of mid. He's playing well. The Broncos went on their little stretch where they won about 5 or 6 games in a row, something like that. You saw some life into this team. And I think the timing, if it did happen after the Chiefs game, where, like Drew mentioned, it was probably their biggest win in 5 to 6 years. It did happen after that game. The timing is a little bit off. It is funny. If I was Russ, I would feel a way that you come to me after we just beat a team we haven't beaten damn near a decade. I feel like that's disrespectful. But at the same time, maybe Denver does want to change. I don't agree on what Joel said in the sense of this market is going to show what Russ means to other teams, because I don't think every team is looking for a quarterback or a quarterback that didn't want to compete. Like, you look at a team like Tennessee. Do they want to compete next year? We don't know. A team like Washington, we don't know. Like a team like Pittsburgh, Atlanta, those are teams that probably still want to compete, have the roster. But I don't think there's many teams out there without a quarterback that's really going to be looking to compete. I think they kind of just want to play the reset button, like I mentioned. Like, even a team like Tampa Bay, they might pay Baker again. They might keep Baker for another year, which doesn't seem like a bad option. He's playing great in that system. So I don't think the market is really going to determine what Russell Wilson is. But I think it makes sense to take all that dead cap in 1 year, like Dell's mentioned, reset in 2025. For Russell Wilson, it looks like Pittsburgh or the Commanders seem like teams. Maybe the Giants, too, seem like 2 or 3 teams that are trying to get back on the market. I think Pittsburgh is probably the only realistic option as a form of a team that's probably a quarterback away from being real competitive. But for Denver, I don't see how going from Russell Wilson to Jarrett Stidham gives you a spark. Like, I really don't understand. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, I get he wasn't playing well. I get he wasn't playing like that quarterback you paid him to be. But Jarrett Stidham does not give you that spark. He does not give you that funk. And like Drew mentioned, it's not just Russell Wilson. Like, these outside of Cortland Sutton, this offense is not this high-powered, offensive explode. They don't have this insane talent on the offensive end. They have pretty much a Cortland Sutton and a bunch of okay guys. So I don't want to put it all on Russ because he did do the best way he can do in this situation this year. And I think Shawn Payton kind of used him as a scapegoat too. But all in all, this just looks like a failure from top to bottom.
We're not gonna act like this Broncos team is devoid of talent, and that's why Russ is failing. Like that's not the case at all.
It's not insanely talented though.
It's not.
It's not
At
insanely
this point,
talented.
It doesn't feel like he can uplift Jerry Jeudy and Marvin Mims and Javonte.
And last year, yes, you could say he did play. Marvin Mims isn't bad, but at the same time, he does need to do. Again, very early to tell on a rookie wide receiver who has
so far he's not good. Right now,
there's really been name a player outside of Cortland Sutton that's been good on this offense. Like, it's really been Cortland using some superpowers to really
just throw it up and hopefully gets it.
That's really what it's been. Like, Cortland Sutton has just been the only outwardly impressive player on this Broncos offense. To me, I look at it like this. Last year, we were destroyed with injuries. Our head coach was terrible. On top of it, Russ wasn't the same. He was injured himself, just did not play good, not even a little bit. This year, statistically looks better than what he actually has been looking like. But at the same time, Jerry Jeudy's inconsistent plays killing us. Javonte Williams as a rusher, I don't know where the explosiveness clearly is not there, and that's also could be due to the knee injuries, which obviously is brutal. But I just look at this offense. It lacks juice. It lacks explosiveness. I would have liked to see Mims be that. We've seen 2 plays in the last, you're mentioning the 1-3 record, the one versus the Texans where they finally took a deep shot to him, which is what they should be doing more on a consistent basis. He's the only guy that's a burner on this offense. You took the shot versus the Texans, should have been pass interference, no call. This game versus the Patriots, a game where down the stretch we needed some big plays. Marvin was one of those guys to make the big play down the field. Full extension grab, may I add you. He's not being put in position to make those types of plays or at least have opportunities drawn up for him. He's the only guy in the offense that has speed, and he's not being utilized in that fashion. So you could say that you don't like him. Hey, your prerogative. But at the same time, I look at play calling. I look at Shawn Payton in that last drive versus the Patriots and think, hey, how about we actually push the ball downfield and not call screens every single fucking play? It's like, yeah, we can look at Russ all we want. He's the quarterback, and I'm one of those guys that will tell you, hey, I would like a little bit more out of Russ. But can we stop making it just Russ, the conversation, the main point of the conversation? At some point, there needs to be responsibilities. Because like Joel mentioned, when we talk about these other guys, we talk about how the coach do such a great job of uplifting these quarterbacks. You said that you don't want to discredit Tua Tagovailoa, but that's what a lot of people like to do. They like to mention Mike McDaniel. They like to mention Shanahan when they talk about Tua and Brock Purdy. So why is it that we're only talking about Russell Wilson and not about Shawn Payton, who definitely could be doing a better job in these situations? I'll say this, and the last thing I'm going to say. If Jarrett Stidham doesn't come out and light it the fuck up versus the Chargers, I'm fucking done with Shawn Payton. He should. One thing I'll say, Chargers defense, it looked okay last week versus the Bills. You could say that, but did give up 63 points to the Las Vegas Raiders offense, who is led by Aiden O'Connell, who I believe didn't even throw for 100 yards against the Chiefs and won the game. So if I don't see Jarrett Stidham have a fucking baller game, Shawn Payton can go to hell. Simple.
Well, listen, I think for one, you're wrong about Marvin Mims. And the reason why you're wrong is
Crying.
because the only route they have him run is go routes. So this idea that they're not sending him down the field is wrong. That's all they do with him. And the reason why is because he cannot run routes. He can't. Reception perception, Matt Harmon over there does an amazing job. He tracks these routes. He tracks the success percentage against man and zone. Marvin Mims is near the bottom of the league. All they do is send him on goes because that's all he can do. So they are trying to use his speed. He just can't really do nothing else. And if you're a one-trick pony, you're not offering much to the offense. I don't think this Broncos offense is this juggernaut, but you're making an interesting point. One, I want to say this to you, Riv. Jarrett Stidham is not that bad. He really is not. He lit up the 49ers defense last year with Josh McDaniels calling plays, and Jarrett Stidham played really well. I think Jarrett Stidham is going to play well in these last two games. Is he going to light up the world? I don't know. He's going to play well, though. I know he's going to play well. Shawn Payton in the past before has elevated mediocre quarterback talent. Drew Brees in his final year had a 106 passer rating, almost 3,000 yards in 12 games, 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, was completing 70% of his passes.
Did you say Drew Brees?
Drew Brees, he was clearly washed in his last season with the Saints. He was clearly washed. And then
just a lack of respect for legends. Can't just say his shoulder was shot.
He was
no,
washed.
We're just going to call him washed.
Yeah, but a washed Drew Brees is so much different than Jarrett Stidham, bro.
I didn't finish my point. When Drew Brees got injured that season, I believe that was the year that Teddy Bridgewater went 5-0. Teddy Bridgewater was playing elite level football statistically. And then the next year when they lost Drew Brees, Jameis Winston was playing amazing before he got hurt. Like, Shawn Payton has made quarterbacks look better than they are before. I think that in this situation, the stats are lying about Russ. He's making Russ look better. And I think Jarrett Stidham in the same situation is going to do pretty good. So let me ask you something, Drew. This is a broad question, and I have Mookie here waiting here because he's a Saints fan and he's not a big Shawn Payton guy. So, maybe you guys can agree on that.
Tough.
Shawn Payton, do you think Russ post Broncos will have more success, or Shawn Payton post Russ will have more success?
Well, who's going to be our fucking quarterback? I'll take the chance on Russ, whoever that is, because if you're telling me that Jarrett Stidham's going to be our quarterback moving forward, 1,000% I'm going to take Russ, because that is fucking egregious. Also, I'm looking at this reception perception. All they have is Marvin Mims' rookie profile, his draft profile. And he has a lot of success on that deep ball, to be fair to him. That's all that they have tracked. I haven't seen anything tracked about this season. So, that's all I'm going to say on that. But at the same time, you have to
upgrade your membership, and then you could see the other things.
I have whatever membership you have.
Get your money up.
I have whatever membership you have.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
because I asked them. But I'm saying
bringing random guests up at random times is funny as shit. Where did he come from?
Bro, real, you know me, bro. Stop that.
Where did he come from, though?
What up, Mook?
I brought you up here, Mookie, because you was going off on Shawn Payton, and you said he's an overrated head coach. So as Drew being a Broncos fan, that's something that he doesn't want to hear. But what do you feel about Shawn Payton?
I don't give a fuck.
Bro. Shawn Payton is not what y'all think he is, bro. When we looking at from a coach perspective, bro, he's not this Hall of Fame top 5 coach that y'all think he is, man. Y'all sit there and say that Shawn Payton is this offensive guru. Outside of playing with a top 5 quarterback all time in Drew Brees, arguably top 3 quarterback, Shawn Payton has not once led a top 10 offense before going to the Saints, even when he was offensive coordinator with Dallas as well. Even when Shawn Payton got suspended after the 2011-2012 season, Shawn Payton, we had we had in 2012 when Shawn Payton missed the whole year. Drew Brees still threw for over 5,000 yards, and the Saints was still a top 3 offense with Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael today is one of the worst offensive coordinators in the NFL, bro. And the fact that Drew Brees threw for 5,000 yards and had a top 2 offense without Shawn Payton just speaks volume that Shawn Payton had the luxury of, playing with an Hall of Fame quarterback. But this was not these conversations when y'all got y'all hands on Shawn Payton. Y'all sat there and said that he was going to change this Broncos offense. That said he's going to change Russell Wilson, right? Sean Payton, since coming with the Broncos, have not once showed respect to Russell Wilson, bro. We talk about Russell Wilson, where he's proven to make deep postseason runs and go to the Super Bowl as well. Sean Payton has literally just screamed at him, literally put, a scapegoat on him as well. And, Shawn Payton has not once taken accountability of the leadership, bro. Like, the Broncos, there's times where, their offense is very, very predictable, bro. It's a very predictable offense that is not being effective as well, right? And you keep on blaming Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, like you said, got brought up the stats. He's playing good compared to what he was last year, right? And the fact that they're still not a top 10 offense just speak volume to, how y'all overrate Shawn Payton, think that he's this offensive mastermind, bro. At the end of the day, the Broncos will miss the playoffs again as well, right? And y'all just want to sit there and just blame Shawn Payton. Russell Wilson. You got to blame Shawn Payton as well, bro. Like he's overrated to me, in my opinion, bro.